In this video, I take a look at the Aalborg Akvavit Distillery in North Jutland, Denmark. This distillery was founded in 1881 and was the largest distillery in Denmark. It produced potato alcohol for Danish schnapps, which is a traditional drink that is popular in Scandinavia. The distillery was closed in 2015 when production of Danish schnapps was moved to Norway.
This is a view over the fence, so this is the front of the factory with the base of the stack. And to the side there's modern apartment buildings, and there's actually some what appear to be trailers. But yeah, you can see that the front of the factory has been pretty much cleared out. There's weeds and grass growing. There's actually a large pool of water that's puddled in front of that one building there. Actually, I noticed that pipe coming out there, so I wonder if that pool could have been some type of drainage pool when the factory was in operation. This is another shot of the factory, and you can see the smokestack, the chimney in the background. And the fjord is over there. You can actually see in the distance the railroad bridge. And I noticed that there's that one window right there, one area right there that's boarded up. There's also a no smoking sign right there. But just looking. And this is a picture through the gate into the factory, into the courtyard of the factory. It's actually this interesting tank right there. And there's some scaffolding, so some pipes that connect the two buildings. Probably some chemicals that were being used in the factory's operation. There's also that interesting hose in the courtyard, so maybe there's like flooding problems in the factory and they're trying to keep the basement of the factory dry. Yeah, and you can see to the upper right there's the chimney. Another one of those circle windows with the star inscribed in it. In the background we can see some modern apartment complexes. So what actually happened was this waterfront used to be industrialized, and then the city grew up around it, and a lot of residential areas were created. And I think they're actually trying to shut down most of the waterfront factories and move them out of the town because none of the people in this town want to actually live right next to an operating factory. Which is a shame, because then you have all these interesting old factories that get shut down, and in some cases probably even get torn down. You can see it's a brick building. It's actually got quite a large number of windows. It looks like it's actually in decent shape. Not sure how long it's been out of service, but none of the windows are broken or anything like that. And above the entrance out there I see, looks like a DDSE, so that probably was the name of it, along with what's likely the corporate signal or the corporate insignia. And the top, I noticed those round windows with stars in them. That's actually kind of interesting. And this is a nice view of the side of the factory. You can see the smokestack up in the top, and actually notice there's a lot of standing water around the factory. So that's actually interesting. And there's the fjord right there, so I can imagine this place would be rather flood prone. And there's a courtyard over there. There's a large building with some windows on it, so that's not really sure. Maybe that's the main hall of the factory, or maybe that's even some offices. I'm not really sure what building in a factory would have all those windows associated with them. One more interesting thing, I'm actually right in front of the factory, and I saw this, what looks like a Coffer dam here. So this Coffer dam, which goes around here, there's the road bridge and the cement plant in the background. I'm actually kind of curious what this was. Maybe there was some type of pier here that was somehow associated with the factory. I actually imagine maybe that this was a cargo pier that was similar to the pier in front of that cement factory that was used to load and unload ships with material for this factory. There's another shot of the railroad bridge and the apartment blocks. And there's a stack from another factory in the back there. This is a view through the front gate of the factory. And the more studio, you might have noticed that the weather and time of day is completely changed. My camera's battery actually died, so I came back a couple of days later to take more shots of this factory. And I also figured out what this factory actually was. It was a distillery, so it used to brew what's called schnapps, which is a popular drink in Denmark. And they closed this factory down in 2015, and I believe they moved the operation to Norway. This was actually one of the largest distilleries in Denmark. It may have even been the largest. It was definitely the largest in the Jutland Aalborg area. If you notice that sign on the door there, Indgang, I believe that means entrance in Danish. So the entrance would have been that direction. And outside of the factory, there's actually this here, which I believe was a pod or something else that was associated with the distilling process. So this factory actually distilled potatoes and used the potatoes to produce the alcohol for the schnapps. And I believe that this vat here was where they actually fermented the potatoes. And in the back there, there's the factory. And here's another view of the courtyard. I actually heard somewhere that they were planning on preserving this factory and possibly even opening it for tours. I guess it's considered a major landmark to Denmark industry or something of that nature. I believe Aalborg actually used to be a really important industrial and factory town. I think they called it the city of smoking chimneys or something of that nature to illustrate the industry that was at one point present here. And even now there's quite a few factories and plants and stuff like that that are still operating. So I guess that Aalborg is still a major industrial town. I also noticed, interestingly, that there's this box town graffiti on the ground here. I don't really know what that's referring to. It's actually strange that you have graffiti in Denmark that's in English, box town. And there's actually some wine barrels in there, so evidence that this was at one point used as a brewery or as a distillery. What's interesting as well is that there's actually a car in the courtyard of this factory, so that black car to the left is actually in the fenced-in area in the courtyard of this factory. I don't know how it got in there, who it belongs to, but obviously whoever parked it there is somehow associated with the factory and knows what they're doing parking there.